following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.
Back at you and Gloves Off. I'm Professor Buitrón. I'm here with Justin Hundsnurscher. He made a book. He wrote a book on the politics of Laredo. It's very interesting. I already read portions of it, and he talks about a lot of good things that people do not know, and a lot of things that have happened in Laredo that are public already. You know that you need to understand where it's at. Good morning. How are we doing, Justin?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Well, that's a nice book, number one.
Thank you. Yes.
And tell me, how did you start writing about it? Why? And basically, how did you come up with this project?
Well, after my first campaign, I ran for the LC board back in 2014. Obviously, I didn't win. I lost. But after that, after my experience in running that campaign and learning about the local political scene, I said, you know what? It's time for me to write about it. So I was starting to write the book. It took me a couple of years to finish it off. And then I ran again in 2016 for the LC board again. I didn't win again that one. But my experience is running campaigns. It's just basically, I got to see what goes on. I was in the inside per se, you know. So I said, you know what, this is very important for people to learn what goes on, what happens in Laredo. Because they just go and vote, but they don't know what the process it takes to get there, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a different matter from helping out in campaigns, helping friends of mine
Right.
in campaigns, and doing security and protecting certain candidates in the past because of threats and so on and so forth, you know, and people don't know that. I've been involved around the campaigns for the last 20-something years, okay? And it's interesting to see that Laredo has a different way of running its campaigns. I don't know if it's the same in San Antonio or in South Texas. People say it is. I doubt it. People have said that it's a little bit more like Chicago and Cooks County of running the campaigns.
It's like a mafia here.
Like a mafia type of element. And to me, I've seen that. I've seen individuals that go out and threaten others, and it's pretty interesting the way it is. I haven't seen it lately, but I've experienced it. I've seen it.
Right.
And you?
Well, my experience is running. You know, it is like a mafia. You know, running 3 times in 4 years, that takes a toll. You know, it does take a toll. But just being, like I said, being a candidate, getting to know what happens, how you get there, you want to win. You have to sometimes associate with several groups if you want to win.
Sure.
And it's kind of sad, you know, because you're trying to run, trying to do good for, you know, get elected, trying to do good for Laredo. But here you are, several groups telling you, hey, join our group. We have voters. No, join my group because I have more voters, you know. So it's pretty tough, and sometimes it can get dirty. There's dirty politics involved with signs, and you know, you're out there campaigning, people approach you, but it can be dirty at times. And like I said, it's like a mafia. We have several groups trying to control local politics, and it's pretty sad that it happens.
I understand what you're saying. You know, you have the big groups. You have the Republicans and Democrats. Here in Webb County for many, many years, the Republicans have been obscured.
Right, they don't exist.
They don't exist. and so you have different groups within the Democratic Party here that are trying to step over the others. Okay,
Right.
you have old groups that have been around for a long time that kind of dwindle down. They still have their candidates. And it's hard to see, you know, and you can start seeing the alignment of the groups or the allegiances, where you drive down certain streets and you'll see the sets of
Right.
of signs together, and then you can basically tell.
It's pretty obvious.
It's
Right.
obvious.
It's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious. For example, in last time I ran in 2018, there was 4 candidates running.
Sure.
So we basically only have 2, maybe 3 different groups here in Laredo that want to control. And you know, they tried vetting these candidates, and there were 4 candidates. See, okay, who are we going to get? You know, who is going to basically serve our interest? So you know, the more candidates a race has, there's a possibility that there's going to be 1 or 2 candidates that may not be associated, but they're not really going to have a chance to win, just because of the mere fact they have these groups trying to control all these politicians.
Mhm. Absolutely, and you know, you see it, and then you'll see somebody every so often will get caught up in the numbers scheme, and all of a sudden they'll go underneath for corruption. There'll be one every so often,
That
you know,
happens.
for something, and it happens. But now we talk about a word, and I like the chapter that you use, and that word's called cañonero.
Right.
A lot of people do not know what the cañonero is. Explain to us what it is.
The cañoneros, that's Laredo's best kept secret, I think, for right now. But it's slowly getting out in the open. Cañoneros are basically what candidates contract, people that candidates contract for them to get votes for them. You know, there's a fine line between if it's illegal or not, but there's basically people out there who basically get paid from candidates to get them certain amount of votes. They're guaranteed votes. They have a list of all the people that they go and take to the polls, and they give them a sample ballot that's already marked. They tell the people, this is how you're going to vote. And these people actually, they vote that way. They're trained to do that. That happens more in the downtown area, the south side. It's in the Mines Road area from what I've seen. But you have different groups of people trying to control these certain areas. So that's how these candidates, and I'm going to be honest with you, most or if not all candidates use cañoneros.
Absolutely.
If you get a candidate here and you ask them, do you use a cañonero? And they say no, they're going to be lying to you. They're pretty much using a cañonero. And when you're running for office, it becomes sort of a competition to see how many groups you can get of cañoneros, if that makes sense. It's a competition. Who's going to pay more? Who's going to be the highest bidder? And it's sad because if it's a close race, the cañoneros can make or break a race. So, and it has happened before. And I guarantee you that every single elected official, and I'm going to get in trouble for this, but if they're elected, they use cañoneros.
Absolutely, and you know, that's a word, cañoneros. Now, how would they pay for them? Do they pay them outright money, or do they pay them by exchange of what?
That's a good question. There are some candidates who actually do pay them under the table, you know. They even give cañoneros a vehicle, you know. They lend them a vehicle. Hey, I'm going to lend you a van or a bus sometimes to go take voters to the polls. Then you have some candidates who are out in the open and actually do put the names of those cañoneros in the campaign finance reports, but they put them as campaign workers. So, I mean, if they want to be transparent, you know, they'll put them in the campaign report, but they'll put it as a campaign expense, as a contract worker. And I know those names. If you can show me a couple finance reports, and I'll tell you who's a cañonero and who's not.
And but it's not illegal, is it? Or it's a fine line.
There's a fine line there. There are some cañoneros. When I was running, I did find a cañonero who actually had a list of voters who had passed away. And the mail-in ballots are infamous for cañoneros.
Okay.
The majority of the mail-in ballots, that's where all these shenanigans happen. Because cañoneros, they mark the ballots for the elderly who sometimes, unfortunately, don't know, you know, can't even see at times. It's unfortunate. Or they go into the daycare homes, the elderly daycare homes, and that's how they get the mail-in ballots. They mark the candidates off for them, and then they send them off. So this is where the illegal activity happens. And obviously paying a candidate under the table is also illegal because it's not reported under the campaign reports.
Absolutely. You see, that's the trouble where a lot of people in other areas do not understand that this type of happens. I'm pretty sure it happens in other cities.
Right.
But not in a vast majority, right?
Right.
And it's interesting because every campaign season, you have people that are working for that. It's kind of like their vocation. That's what
It's their job.
That's their job.
Mhm.
You know, they'll get enough money to carry them off throughout the year, the next year, what have you. But it's interesting. What else did you write in there that you can say, you know what, this is something that people in Laredo need to find out more about, or people out there in your book?
Well, basically, the voters need to be aware who they are voting for. You know, when I was running, a lot of people just voted for the name, or they didn't even know who they were voting for, first of all, or they were being told who to vote for. The way we can end the cañoneros is by people actually being educated on who the candidate they're voting for is. Not just going and vote just because somebody's telling them, hey, vote for my friend, or vote for this guy, or vote for this girl because, you know, I know them, or they're paying me, you know. So it's very important that the voters get educated, see where the candidate stands on the issues. I mean, here, like you said, we only have basically one party here. The Republican Party is basically non-existent. But to be honest, I don't even think we have a Democratic Party. We have the Patrón Party. You know, knowing from the history of Laredo back with J.C. Martin, they're the same names. A lot of them are still out there who are serving right now. And if you read my book, you're going to see a lot of those names, and they're still out there. They're still serving. They're just come from that same family tree. So the voters need to be aware who they're voting for, why the candidate is running, and what are they going to do when they get elected.
Absolutely, and that is very, very hard because a lot of people tend to just say, you know what, especially the younger crowd, well, you know what, they told us to vote for all the Hispanic names, so they'll go
Right.
down the list, and every Hispanic person that's in there, they're gonna put it down. But here in Webb County, the majority are, but you see this happening in Dallas and whatever. Or you'll do it with ethnicity. These are the people that are, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
you start seeing that. People need to educate themselves of what is actually going on and what is a history of a candidate that's going on. That's why debates are very much important.
Absolutely.
And shows and people that come out and actually talk to, because everybody at the end of the day, everybody starts copying what one was supposed to do. Okay, I have this plan. This is my plan for running.
I've seen it happen, yes.
And then 2 weeks later, the opponent has the same word by word on their
Right.
brochure.
Right.
And then this one changes it and says, you know what, I'm going to make it free for everybody to go to Six Flags. Oh, I'm going to make it free for everybody to go to SeaWorld. And it goes on and on.
And it
and on.
happens, and that's not always a bad thing. Actually, that's you know, because I always say when I was running, yeah, there were some of my opponents who would copy my platform, which
Sure.
you know, it's not illegal, of course, but you know, they can copy my platform. I say, you know what, then I'm doing something right,
Sure.
and I'm getting the issues out there, and I'm doing something right. And if they get elected, maybe they'll follow through and yeah, those issues become real, right? But so it's not always a bad thing for them to steal. But yes, it's always good to have debates, to have forums. When I was running, you know, I lost count how many forums and debates we had. And how many shows I did, how many radio shows, programs like yours.
Sure.
It's very important that as a candidate, they're out there trying to inform the people, the voters, where they stand and what they plan on doing.
Absolutely. And if anybody wishes to get a book, how can they get your book? Can they contact you, or where?
They can actually purchase it on Amazon. It is first
Okay.
on Amazon.
Sure.
They can also download a free copy. You know, I'm not here to make profits. They can download a free copy on the Facebook page. The Streets of Laredo Politics. They can just go to the Facebook page. The link is there. They can download it for free.
Because it's interesting, folks. It's interesting that somebody finally came out and said, here's what's going on. Here's exactly how people are being protected. And I've read a bunch of it, and it's accurate. It's accurate to the point. It's interesting to see, because there's families that control vast amounts, and people say
For hundreds
no,
of years.
they're not related. Then you start seeing that it's actually the sister with a different name, and then, you know, that one's the son-in-law of, and it goes on
Right.
and on and on and on. There's nothing wrong with that. We live in a
No,
small
there's
town.
nothing wrong.
Okay,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with it. You know, you're gonna have families that are a little bit more. You got families that in the past that we don't have them anymore. They would be the ones, the zapateros, would be the ones that were working on your boots and your shoes, and you had it, and that's what the whole family did for generations. Now you don't see those vocations.
Right.
But here we have families that are into politics and continue. But again, research, right?
Research is very important, and I try to be very objective with the book. Obviously, the chapters where my experiences are placed there, of course, I can't be objective with that. But for the most part, I try to be fair, try to research the occurrences that have happened. You know, there are going to be some names there that I know personally, and it hurt to write, but it happened, and I had to write it. I wasn't going to leave it out. And all these individuals have redeemed themselves many times over. But I think it's important still for the people to be aware of what has happened in the history of our local politics.
Absolutely. Well, number one, remember you can download it free.
Yes, on the Facebook page, or you can buy it on Amazon.
Again, be safe and exercise your right to vote. Till next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
The following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.